Hi, I am an ICE 50 avatar and will present this interesting article. True story: how Tera beat the odds. Tera was your typical 25-year-old graduate student. That all changed in February 2020 when she was hit by a car while crossing a Washington, D.C. intersection. The first responders on the scene were shocked that she was alive. Her doctors in the trauma unit said she wouldn't make it. But she did. Life can change in an instant. Tera's family came to the U.S. from Iran and settled in Richmond, Virginia when she was 5 years old. Today, she's a graduate student studying for her degree in international affairs at American University in Washington, D.C. One afternoon, Tera had been doing volunteer work when her entire life changed in the blink of an eye. She left to walk home, and she came to a busy intersection. She looked both ways carefully before beginning to cross the street, and she was properly in a crosswalk as she did. There was a black SUV approaching, and it stopped at the crosswalk. Tera purposely waited until it had come to a full stop before she began to cross the street on foot. What happened next isn't clear to Tera. She remembers passing the SUV, but then her world went dark. She remembers the sensation of being swept, in her words, and her body moving in circles from the impact as she was hit by another vehicle. The next thing she remembers is waking up on the ground in the street. Tera later learned that when she was hit by the car, her face broke the windshield, her teeth shattered, nose broken, and her body was flung over the car and landed on the ground, bloodied and seemingly lifeless. When witnesses called 911, they told the dispatcher that they believed she had died. So, when Tera opened her eyes, she shocked the witnesses and first responders. She was bleeding from her ears and nose, her teeth were hanging out, her lung had collapsed, she suffered a spleen laceration, and the left side of her body was badly bruised. She was transported to the trauma unit at Suburban Hospital in Bethesda, Maryland. Tera received surgery for a nasal fracture and then reconstructive surgery for her teeth and gums. She later had a bone graft that involved implanting bone from a deceased person into Tera's face in order to reconstruct her jaw. The procedure required 4 to 6 months of healing time, after which she had another bone graft. Tera's sister would be her greatest source of strength and influence, translating complicated medical terms for their parents and motivating Tera to begin to relearn how to walk. When the nurses got Tera out of her hospital bed for the first time after the accident, her sister stood in front of her as her biggest motivator and cheerleader as she began to walk. The driver who hit Tera hasn't been held responsible. After the driver hit Tera, the vehicle came to a stop with Tera lying on the ground beside the driver's door. The driver opened the door, saw Tera, and made a phone call. A few minutes later, the young woman attempted to drive away. Witnesses on the scene were able to stop her from leaving the scene, but the driver was hostile and didn't seem to care about Tera's serious condition. Of all the things that are hurtful about that day, Tera remains especially sad about the fact that the driver, also a young woman about her own age, didn't seem to be concerned about whether Tera was alive or dead. The driver received 3 traffic citations and paid a total of $180 in fines for these infractions. Legal notice. This article is for informational purposes only and does not constitute professional advice.